All right, guys, welcome back to part 3. In part 1 and part 2, we covered Fox body. We're going through the evolution, so let's just keep it going. We're in Dave's collection. This is a pace car behind me, Indy pace car, a Cobra R95, one of the real ones. We saw the prototype 6.1 in the second video in part 2. And I'm going to bring Dave in real quick. Dave?
Yes.
Once again, thanks for having us back. We've got Cobras everywhere. We've got, this is like, we're living in the land of SVT.
Yeah, and that's what we want here. I mean, SVT was where it's at. I mean, if you were a Ford guy back in the 90s or 2000s, you're SVT geek, you know, and
Yep.
That's what we're bringing back here is all SVT products and the best SVT products, in my opinion, that were made. That 95 Cobra R, you know, brand new. It was actually owned by Ernie Irvan, the NASCAR driver.
Right.
Remember him?
Yep.
I'm lucky enough to get that car. Here's something as when they started experimenting a little more, getting out of the whites and basic tan interiors, and all of a sudden they come out with this crazy color-changing Cobra in '96 with the motor that we found in the '93 Fox body earlier today. So this is Mystic Chrome or Mystic color paint. Mystic Chrome came in '04, but this is a 96-mile original example. Black interior. All of them came with black interiors. All of them were coupes, no convertibles until we got to 2004. And you know, when people walk in there, they say, "Oh, this has got to be. These are repainted. These are all." No, this is the way they came. This was Ford's plan during those times.
Yeah, Ford was so protective of the paint that if you got in an accident, I think you even had to take the VIN number, go to the auto body shop, have the appraiser appraise the damage, and then have the Ford person come in and appraise the damage, and then they would ship you the paint that I believe was done by BASF.
That's correct.
Did the custom paint for Ford on these. So it was actually a process. They did not want that paint getting out and people repainting other Mustangs or other vehicles with that special paint. They wanted it to be a real true special edition. And I actually have a funny story about one of these. In '96, we got one as a press car. I went into Manhattan Ford. I picked that baby up, and I was King Daddy. And my job was go to the drag strip and run it and see what it would turn in the quarter mile. So it happened to be a Wednesday nights at Englishtown.
Oh, gosh.
You know, so I went home. I got our company slicks, our Mickey Thompson. I think we had Mickey Thompson ET drags on centerline wheels, if I remember at the time. I threw them in the trunk. I went to the drag strip. I changed the tires, and I was the first guy in the lanes at 6 o'clock. I cut it loose, 5,000 RPM launch, and it went, I think it went like a 1370 or a 1380. So if 5,000 is good, 6,000 is better. Long story short, let's just say we got to 7,000 RPM, and it went 1338 at I think 105, if I remember correctly, on the speed. And, you know, I kept calling back to the home base, to Muscle Mustangs and Fast Fords World Headquarters, Camposano, 1370, 1350, 1338. All right, go for it, man. 7,000's good. Why not put it on the chip? So did the burnout, staged her as shallow as I could, and just put it on the mat, let the clutch out, and pow! Rear end parts all over the track. It broke the rear end so bad that it hurt. And it also hurt my feelings, too, because I had to call Camposano and tell him that the 850-mile press car was not going to be making it to the wedding that he was supposed to take it to that weekend. So he wasn't real happy, but we did run 1338. I'm convinced it would have run 1320s if the rear end held together. But c'est la vie, and Ford ended up building better rear ends. They don't really break anymore. So lesson learned, Ford took it. And we moved on with our lives. But that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
That's a good one. Too bad you didn't know me then, and we didn't have this car sitting as a sideline. You could have just put it right in the slot, and nobody would have known the difference.
All right, so I got my man Vinny Kung. Vinny's back in action, Spinny Vinny. Still got Project White Trash. Still a Mustang guy, even though he's been off the scene for a little while as far as journalism goes. He's got a lot going on. But Vinny, Cobras.
All right, so we gotta talk Cobras here, because if any Mustang meant everything to me, it was the advancement of technology that, quite frankly, the Fox platform finally got. In 1996, the big change was going to the 4.6 mod motors, which was revolutionary in the Ford world. Not just only because it was a new pushrod to overhead cam design change, but you also had a displacement drop. So these were 4.6 liters, as you recall. Cool thing about this, there's this technology everywhere, 32 valves, 4 cams, only available on the SVT. And a couple of things to the car, you couldn't tell otherwise because it still looked like the 94, 95 cars, but obviously 96s had the new taillights in the back with the jeweled look. And also interesting is in the front here, 96 Cobras had not only just the slightly different scoops here, but they also had headlights that were unique to Cobras, which actually had an insert that was not cut up, it was like a little jeweled lens as well. But what is really awesome about this particular car is that it only has 96 miles. Yes, 96 miles, a 96 mile 96, I think that's pretty cool. But still in the wrapper, but if you just look at the paint, Mystic was so unique. Now, Evan and Dave mentioned that when you look at the color, and if you ever had any issues, yes, it was daunting to have to get this repainted. But if you look at it, the greatest thing about it is that at any angle you would see green, you would see violet, purple, blue. This was when Ford not only was bringing technology, but the SVT team wanted something really unique in the marketplace. Now, I'm not a Ford company spokesperson, but I think this was real strong back in the day to get something that was actually showing great colors being brought to the palette to truly differentiate these cars in the marketplace. These are awesome.
Yeah, literally, as you walk around the car and as the sunlight, if you had this car and it was a nice day outside, you would literally see the green, the purple, depending on, and when we tried to photograph this car, depending on what angle you put the camera on it, it looked completely purple, it looked completely green, or something actually in between. But Ford wasn't done. They weren't done with this kind of paint, Vinny.
That's why I love the fact that, yes, it was a limited run, but they brought it back later. And not only did they bring it back to the SVT Cobra, but they brought the Cobra to a whole new level with the 0304. So it wound up becoming called Mystic Chrome. And as you can see, the color principle was the same. BASF was still a supplier. And they made the car shift colors. I remember these were very difficult to photograph.
Yeah.
Not just with regular sunlight, daylight, cloudiness. You couldn't use a polarizing filter. You couldn't do anything. I'm getting nerded out right now with all my camera stuff. But anywho, these cars were so unique because not only did you have an 0304 Cobra in the first place, 390 horse, 390 torque from the factory, first T56 in a production Mustang, 390 horsepower. I'm talking to you, Coletti. So this car's got 22 miles. That is awesome. And it's a convertible. So in 04, the last year of the new Edge platform, this was the pinnacle of the last of, I guess you could even say, 78 Ford Fairmont. Shall I say that? Fairmont.
Yeah. Yep.
My favorite car. Fairmonts, Granadas, Thunderbirds, Granadas.
LTD.
LTDs.
Zephyr.
But the 0304 Cobras, again, not only did it get the new Edge look, but it had a couple of things that were unique. This hood. Now, these hoods were all made out of SMC, sheet molded composite, but what was really cool is that it had the taller hood profile and these two faux vents. But even more impressive, of course, is what's underneath the hood. So, factory supercharged. I believe this was an Eaton M112.
Yep.
And these things came with liquid to air intercoolers. And from the factory, I mean, these things, you drove it the minute you drove it. The throttle response, it was still very docile, very enjoyable to drive, but this did not have 390 horsepower.
No, I think they were more like 4.25. And when we were talking earlier, and Vinny mentioned 280 cubic inches. So Ford downsized the engine from a 302 to a 280-inch engine. And they really did that to get the small bore spacing because they wanted a smaller compact engine. So they kind of limited themselves to a 280-inch engine, which didn't, in my opinion, work so great in the Cobra because you were just limited. I mean, no matter what you did, you had 280 cubic inches, even though they sounded good and they revved nice. But when Coletti said we need more power, and he told the guys at SVT and SVE to put a supercharger on this 280-inch engine, that's when the Cobra really came alive.
I think the biggest thing was how the enthusiasts embraced this car. When it first came out, it was right after the 99 Lightnings, of course, but a factory supercharged Mustang made all the sense in the world because you had the power, a manual transmission, and four-wheel independent suspension, so the car could actually handle with its big brakes. But the aftermarket, I mean, this car, I had one back in the day, I think with a pulley and an air filter, I think it made 342 the wheels.
More than that.
Yeah, well, that was just bone stock otherwise, to the wheels.
Because we made 441. Ford had given us a Sonic Blue tester, if you remember that car.
Yes.
Before the car even came out, we got our hands on one for about a month. And again, which they don't do today, Ford gave us a car and said, go play with it. drag race it, mod it. There was no tunes or anything, so all we did, I think, if I remember, Jim Diamore found a smaller pulley, made it work, so we did a pulley and an air filter, and on Chris Winter's dyno jet at Crazy Horse Mustang at the time, I remember the number exactly, it made 441 horsepower at the wheels, and we had no idea to know whether it was like gonna blow up or tuned right, but we drove it like that for a long time. Now, to your point, Vinny, when you say that enthusiasts embrace this car, one of the main reasons was something that you can't see, and that is forged internals. So Manley connecting rods, forged pistons, I think they were Manleys also, which what really allowed you to do was take this supercharger, chuck it to the side, put a big blower on it, and people were making 600 horsepower with this long block, and that was unheard of at the time.
And I even recall we built it in Muscle Mustangs magazine, my 03 Cobra at the time, with just a Kenny Bell. To your point, actual numbers, that car made 642, and that was in the infancy. The car was only a year or two old. I mean, it's amazing how much time has progressed, of course, but to have the SVT team to put all of this stuff in the car from the factory, just mind-blowing. And from the outside of Mr. Chrome, if it was a Sonic Blue, yeah, you could tell it was an SVT, but they also came in black, they also came in orange, they came in some other colors too. But the one differentiator in the back was always that spoiler that looked like it was added on, but it wasn't just added on. It was actually integrated into the aerodynamics. And I always thought about it, right? It looks like it was just slapped on there. And it's kind of subdued. But it actually worked from what I understood. And the engineer said it actually created the look. But anytime you saw this spoiler and you saw the Cobra rear bumper cover, you knew you were in for a ride.
Yeah, you know, and a lot of people, the new edges were funny, right? Because some of them looked a little awkward, especially they sat up high a little bit. But when this car came out, it really had its own look. I personally love the front fascia on these, how it has those soft round edges, like especially around the fog lights. It doesn't have that real sharp angle. So you took what was a new edge, because it's a very edgy car compared to the earlier model, the 96, 97, 98. When it went to the 99, very sharp edges on the body design. You could see right here in the rear quarter panel, just very sharp, very sharp. The way the fall-offs are on the shoulder line of the car. The bodywork on this particular car, it almost softened the look a little bit, but not in a way that made the car look soft. It really made the car flow from front to back nicely. And with that motor under the hood, there was pretty much nothing on the road that could touch it for the money.
It's pretty amazing how this was the pinnacle, as we talked about before, of the Fox 4, SN95, and New Edge generation Mustang. But this was more than that, because this was the precursor to the S197, as we all know. That wound up coming in 2005. So while all this was going on, there was a whole new platform coming on, and that's pretty amazing that they still were able to get this through. I don't know about these days. I mean, yes, we have great numbers, great performance between your GT350 and GT500s, but this is as pure as you could have gotten with raw power available at your foot.
Yeah, there was nothing like power shifting one of these things, a tail getting kicked out on you, and so many people modded these cars. It was just shootouts left and right. Who's got the fastest Cobra? Oh, what a great time.
I mean, like, if you didn't have an 0304 Cobra, you wanted an 0304 Cobra. And ultimately, I think that these already been a level right now as far as what they're worth. I think the market on these is going to continue to rise, especially ones like this that are not only special, but, I mean, this is still in the wrapper. But I do have to say, the 0304 Cobras are one of my favorite cars. It was
No
one
doubt.
of mine. I had a charcoal one. It was fantastic. And I hope that in the future we get to see more cars like this, because as you had said, everybody modified these things. It was mile 1, leave the driveway. Mile 2, go to the dyno. Mile 3, let's go to Englishtown.
All right, Dave, so Mach 1. Mach 1s are hot, right? They were hot in 1969 when it came out.
That's right.
And then it went up to, I think, 1974 or something like that. Maybe it was about the last year, which people don't even realize there was a Mustang 2 Mach 1. But Ford brought it back in
03 and 04.
Yep, in 03 and 04 with this right here. And there was a lot of special stuff on the car. Ford just didn't go with the sticker package. So this one is a special car. Not only does it have 35 miles on it, but you have some special things that go with this particular car.
Sure, this car I bought from the original owner, who happens to be a friend, and he ordered this car. He ordered this car brand new, and and spec'd it out from his local dealer, and went to Ford and to Dearborn to see this car being built. So from ground up, this car was photographed from when it was 1,000 parts to when it was finished, and decals being put on and everything. But of course, with the Mach 1, the big noticeable difference was the shaker hood. That was very unique to this model car. Some of the graphics packages, obviously the motor, interior. So this was, like Evan said, it wasn't a sticker package. This was a real deal car.
Yeah, and then Ford also offered unique colors that I think you couldn't get on a regular Mustang. The Azure Blue. I know it came, I think, in '04 competition yellow.
Zinc yellow.
Or zinc yellow, competition orange.
Yep.
Personally, I love the white and black. It's probably my favorite. There's just something simple and clean about it. Yeah, so to your point, Dave, a Magnum 500 style wheel. The interior font on the gauges was reminiscent. A little throwback on the pleats in the seat.
That's right.
The way the seat is upholstered, the shift knob. There was a lot of unique parts to this car. We'll take a look inside now.
Yeah, and I think what Ford did was really bring back the 60s and early 70s era cars. I mean, like Evan was saying, the weave seats with the stripe, different type of shift knob, and the fonts on the gauges, like Evan said. I think they really started to bring back that historical sense in the Mach 1, and really are carrying it forward ever since. I think this was really the start of that. Very, very popular back in '03 and '04, this generation.
Yeah, I love the way they did the matte finish on the spoiler and the stripe, because I'm a big fan of the matte. And I think maybe that's why I like the white so much, is because the way the black just pops off of it. I'm not usually a huge fan of just white cars, but this package, it really works.
And if you even notice now on new Mach 1 that just came out, they went with the flat black finishes as well. So they carried that through all the way to current. So it's great planning on their part. In here you can see, I want to show you real fast some of these pictures that go along with this car. This is this car actually being built all the way along the way, which a lot of cars you don't have the privilege of seeing being built in this way and fashion, and photograph hundreds and hundreds of photos of this car. There's the steering wheel going in, and you could even see that yellow plastic tab that they would normally remove at the plant is still in the car over there. So it's a real testament. And by the time it was all over, the people putting the decals on and testing the car out just really makes this car even more so special.
That's amazing. It's Ford is picky about letting you get in the plant too. So
Yes.
That's not something and it's not even so much Ford, it's the UAW, because they're very protective of how their workers are viewed. They don't want to come off as like seeing a guy sitting on brake. They're very careful about who they let in the plant, and how people working on the cars are photographed. So that's a really neat thing to have. I know you love this Mach 1, but I got to ask you, which one do you like better?
I don't know. I mean, they both have their pluses and minuses. This car is brand new. This just came in the other week. Fighter Jet Gray. It's got the handling package, no rear seat delete. So we kind of go on that R theme here. I like that R theme where less is more. This is a neat car. Taking this car for a quick ride the other day when it came in. They did a really nice job in this car. A lot of people said this is a parts car. I know you just tested one the other day. You ran pretty good on that, didn't you?
Yeah, so we, if you want to scroll back through the videos, we just went to the drag strip at one of these with a A10 automatic car, ran 1189 at almost 120 miles an hour into a headwind, which is, wow, it's mind-boggling when you look at part one of this video and you see the 225 horse Fox bodies and you think 480 horse, and then this one being with the handling package, you get the lace wheel, like you said, no rear seat. Ford really lets you order the car for the track. they are just amazing. I know they're a lot of money. New cars cost bucks, but 11-second car, amazing road racing capabilities. We have a video of us road racing one of these out in Willow Springs. We were out in California a couple of months ago, testing it out on the road course, and it's just blows your mind how great this car. This car has not only rev matching, but on the throttle upshifts, you can leave your right foot right on the floor, and it controls RPM. So you basically can power shift. They're giving you a power shifting option. They call it no lift upshift. I call it power shifting. Okay, real quick, before we close it out, you have other cars in here. Of course, you've got a new GT500. You've got GT350R. You got all kinds of stuff. I'm just like, I can spin around and just see Mustangs. And your collection of memorabilia and Ford press materials is like nothing I've ever seen.
Yeah, again, it just rounds out the package with the starting from 79 and up. I just try to get the best examples of each era. I think that the Shelbys and the Mach 1, represent that in this most modern era. But you can see by the SVT products in the background, and even the S197s that we didn't cover, but we have a Boss 302 and a GT500 from there, and the last S197 5.0 ever built. They're just great cars, and it's the story to tell. When somebody walks in here and they're not a Ford person, or they're just kind of dabbling in Mustang, this really gets them get their juices flowing coming in here and being able to tell them the stories, and like you guys were mentioning, whether it's the new age stuff or the modern or the older stuff, just the availability to show them history and to explain to them, for them to be able to sit down, touch it, feel it. We pull them out, drive them a little bit. That's just it's priceless to see people's reaction, and then to see GM people come in here and all of a sudden they're ordering Fords. That's
right.
my mission. My mission is to convert them to Ford people, because Mustang, the longest running American sports car.
Absolutely.
And to me, it's my passion, and to have people like you guys come in today, it's just my pleasure to have you here.
I really appreciate that. I could literally just go to Target, get like an air mattress or something, and sleep in the back over there, and just keep waking up to this every day, and I'd be just fine. But Dave, what a day! I can't even thank you enough. I know Vinny is super excited. We're gonna probably shut the camera off. Vinny's giving a thumbs up. All right, guys. So that wraps up our 3-part tour of Dave's collection. Man, it's breathtaking. It's like you said, we went from 1979 and up through present. It's like being in a time machine. To be able to see and touch and feel all of your cars is just something that something I won't forget. I'm going to be back. But let us know which ones you like. We're going to come back. We're going to try to get Dave into letting us take some of these out. We'll do some in-car video and give you a feel for what it's like to drive. Or if you have any special requests where you'd like to see more of some of these cars, chime in with a comment. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe to the REVan channel. And we appreciate everybody. Dave, we especially appreciate you. Thanks for having us.
Anytime. Come back anytime. Thank you.